relatives, welcome to this week's Schlagbite entitled My Shrinking Circle for the week May 25th, 2015. My circle of close male friends is shrinking, and it's not that I've ever had that many. It's been hard for me to reach out for that kind of intimacy, and it's getting harder as I get older. I lost a dear friend this week, a truly extraordinary guy. David had a PhD in molecular biology. He was doing basic research at UC in the 60s. The Viet Nam War was escalating. The government grants he had wanted him to be doing more practical biological research. And he didn't want to do that, so he left academia and became an astrologer. His scientific mind understood the mechanics of the universe, and he delved into the mystical world, studied Buddhism and Kabbalah and Chinese and East Indian mythologies. When he gave you a reading, it was a compendium of scientific and spiritual wisdom. He had you look at what was happening to you at this time in your life, why it was happening, and point out the choices that you had about how you wanted to come to the events in your life. He built a worldwide reputation. He'd been healthy until about 4 years ago, when he slipped and fell, and they never saw the tiny bone fragment that eventually led to a spinal abscess. He developed some serious postoperative complications and went blind and couldn't smell or taste. It took him a year to recover, but then he went back to work. And a year later, a mass was discovered in his abdomen that turned out to be a kidney cancer. It was surgically removed, and last year he complained of some neck and arm pain, and the doctors found that he had metastases in his bones. David knew what he was facing. I mean, he understood the trade-offs, the suffering, the side effects, in exchange for getting the hoped-for benefits, and he decided to go for chemotherapy and radiation. And the chemo slowed the spread for a while, but the radiation resulted in his inability to swallow, so he required a feeding tube. And we talked regularly about everything. Two old guys schmoozing about how we come to our losses and the prices we are willing to pay to pursue life. But the chemo failed to slow the spread, and this last year he's been in unremitting pain. Last week he had an afternoon appointment with his oncologist to consider another round of chemo. And I went to see him that morning. He was in bed, grimaced in pain as he got up to walk to the bathroom. And I asked him when he came back what he hoped that his doctor was going to tell him that would make him willing to continue his suffering. And he said there was nothing the doctor was going to tell him that was worth this. And said, I'm not going to keep the appointment, call hospice. Now, with the same commitment and intensity that he pursued life, he also pursued his demise and died within 24 hours. I spoke at his funeral, and as I watched him being lowered into the grave, had this revelation that I had better be reaching out more and expand my shrinking circle. Otherwise, there's going to be nobody left to talk to me. Cultivate intimate friends. It is through their eyes that we see ourselves more clearly. On this Memorial Day weekend, think about those you love and lost, and stay connected with those who fill you with joy. Have a great week. I say this for all my relations. Mitakuye.
Look at